Record.
Hi.
Okay.
So my issue this week, I suspect it's most people's issue, but I miss working next to people.
Oh.
I miss being with people. And I mean, obviously I sat in front of Deola, but I'm not talking about Deola in particular.
Oh, carry on. This is quite a
people.
sweet one today. Go on.
It's not that sweet. It's not at you. So we've this week decided to not renew office leases and stuff. And there's a part of me that's the right decision. We can all work from home and we're doing that. And we can still have meetings where we can book stuff and go in. But I've realised we don't get to do the bumping into each other, having a chat thing, which even though working from home is a good thing, like for me, I love it. I can do stuff I need to do at home. I've got a better balance of getting my house clean and doing all of the work stuff. There's just something about like not having a base and not having an office or like your roots. And it's like, what do we do to replace that? Are we going to get it wrong? Are people going to miss it? If I feel like this, are other people going to feel like this? So, let's take that to the bottom. What's going to go wrong here?
I think that is quite a big thing and an underrated thing. Obviously, there's been a lot in the news about the psychological effects. I mean, to make this a bigger thing that lockdown can have, and just not being able to socialize and connect with people. That also, filters through into work as well. It's a big part of what we commit our lives to, how we commit our time, and the people that we connect with, especially if we enjoy that place of work and the people who are there. Don't get to see them, don't get to connect with them. And it can be quite it can make for quite a lovely experience, to be perfectly honest. Quite an isolating experience. I mean, that's just, the surface level, I guess, really.
Yeah. And, just to really take to the bottom, Jankee, in terms of how much you miss me, it's going to get worse. You're going to miss me more, and it's going to get more difficult and painful. You'll probably turn to physical pain at some point. And so you'll probably think you need a doctor, and you don't need a doctor. You just needed me to be there. And so it's just worth knowing that. But I mean, for other people going through this, there's definitely things that happen when you're around people in terms of quick ideas. There's also that competitiveness that comes up, and not even competitiveness. There's an element of, I can't be seen. I used to feel like I couldn't be seen to not be working. Like, me and you would have a long discussion.
Oh, yeah.
But particularly when our door was open, I couldn't have anything on my screen for 1 second just in case someone walked behind me thinking, is that what they do in there? And so there was something that trying to keep you honest about working with other people. It could be a distraction, of course, but it also could drive you to work, or someone could say something that gets you over the hump. Particularly us, we'd have some moments of stress where, I could just call out over the top of the computer and be like, this is happening. And you get that immediate release of that tension. Sometimes we drive each other nuts ourselves, but at least you get that moment to speak about that thing, or maybe be calmed down and move forward. And I think you lose a lot of that quick sharing of ideas. There's some things that aren't quite enough for an email, aren't quite enough for a phone call. And so you just want to have it. And it's just, again, seeing people with different motivations and energies that you just lose, even just as where we were, just seeing other people, bumping into people, having a coffee, having a tea, and just having a different feeling about work. It really did change it. And I think, as Charlie was saying before, is that whole idea of no longer working from home, but living from work. And if you're now living from work, it's when does it stop? When do you cut off and have a different experience where now I'm at home and now I'm at work, so now I've got my professional hat on, and that is very difficult.
I think also it is that, what is it that you're stopping from happening that would have happened at work, which professionally then bugs me. It's like, oh, maybe we would have come up with that idea months ago. But I don't know, like, also the other thing is at what point is it that you make a decision to go back to the office? Because I know everybody's telling us to go back to the office, but financial over people and culture and friendships or relationships, is there an answer to that?
Yeah, and we're creatures of habit, aren't we? And so you forget, you don't know, it's hard, you don't get the parallel existence where you see would have been ahead or would be behind, you just don't know. And so you just get into this new way, and it's like, the few times I have gone back into the office, it's like, why would I not come here all the time? This feels normal, this feels natural. But the moment you don't go in anymore, it's like, well, I just wake up and walk to my computer and I've started work. And so it's a difficult thing psychologically to even understand what we're missing, and that that's something itself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
inherently, as the final thing, human beings are social creatures. You know, we thrive, that's how we develop, that's how we build, that's how we grow. And this inherently stops that. Like Deola was saying before, there are certain things that you feel like, oh, is this worth a phone call? Is this worth an email? You know, those feel like different social norms that are required for those things. Whereas if you're in person, it's a quick hit. So yeah. There are things that may have been that are not now, like you were saying, Jankee, and you may never know. Yeah.
All right, then. What do I do to fix the feeling? One, because I think that's quite important. Not just structurally, company-wise, leadership-wise, and then also that is maybe separate things.
That's a very hard question to answer, because I don't know if there is a good solution to replace the need for social contact without creating a pathway to it, because you could just live your existence on Zooms and different things like this. And I don't know if that's what we want. And there are, I think it's a different question to ask what the benefits are, because there's probably numerous benefits, from work-life balance to, just different things. But that's not the question you're asking. The question you're asking is how to fix that feeling. And it's not obvious to me that you can fix a lack of social contact without social contact in a workspace.
Yeah, so I guess there are like pseudo things that you could do, sessions that aren't, a meeting like this, or, that have no prescribed reason for them. I know those aren't quite the same, and I know people do those already, but those go some way.
Yeah, I guess it's hybrid, isn't it? It's creating a hybrid situation where even some schools are doing it in different parts of the world. It's you come in some days, other days you don't come in. And because there are benefits to being able to work from home, like which we're not discussing today, but you don't want to eliminate those either. And so can you create a situation where there's enough social contact where you don't have that feeling, but you don't just go back to it for the sake of it when you've realized you don't need to be there? Because that's almost going backwards in life. And sometimes there is a discomfort in letting go. Me and Charlie used to talk about, outgrowing your clothes a lot and changing clothes. Sometimes when the clothes get tight, you have to change them, and it might be hard to let go of your favorite pair of trainers, your favorite jeans, or whatever it was growing up. But the only time you stop changing your clothes is when you stop growing, and also to be current in fashion and stuff, whatever. But the point is, once things get tight, it's time to move on and actually buy clothes and get new clothes. And sometimes coming out from this office space, or for many people coming out of office spaces, is a sign of growth for them. And I guess maybe the key question is understanding, are you growing? Does this represent growth, or does this represent restriction? What does it represent?
Good point.
Yeah, I guess that is the other conversation as well, isn't it? Because you're at this point for a particular reason. You've recognized that from a business perspective, actually, it makes, and I know this is not the conversation, but it makes more sense as a whole for the business to go about it this way. And yes, this is one of the cons, unfortunately. But at the same time, there are a lot of pros that outweigh, unfortunately, this particular con at the moment. And that's why it is the way it is at the moment. So
I guess also the fact that you've talked about particularly how you feel in a company that ranges from 2 staff to 5,000 staff. How many people feel like that at different times? And so if you want to get the most out of your team, you need to have a forum for either creating opportunities for that to go away, or creating opportunities for people to voice that, and so that you can do something with it. If it's just something that you feel every now and then, and you might say, I'll cope with it. But if it's something that you feel strongly, then other people might feel it as well. And how do you create an environment where that can be expressed? And where you might even come to the cognition that actually we do need to have some sort of working space, even if it's a shared space, even if it's a temporary space or part-time space. It might be worth finding out what the needs are of your company and of your staff.
Yeah. All right then. Some solutions there, but a radical solution and a sensible solution, please.
I mean, you could, and I'm a busy man, but you could book my time. Like occasional arguments. We can make up and fight and hug and fight and hug and fight, and we can sit opposite each other for a while and do work.
I mean, this is coming.
Yeah, I'm saying But like you can pick the people, because here's the benefit as well to my radical solution is you don't have to invite everybody. There were people in the office you didn't like being around. They don't have to come in. So you can just invite me and your besties and we can come in and have work days and everyone else is working from home. And they think that's just because working from home is good, but actually we don't like them. They smell. That's what I'm going to say.
That was a radical solution. Probably not going to go with it.
Yeah, I'm sure that won't lead to any HR issues or anything else like that. To tack on to that, as a semi-radical solution, you could get a cardboard cutout of Deola.
It wasn't really Deola this was directed at. Like, not really. It wasn't. It wasn't.
Fair enough. To be fair, I think it is gone.
Cardboard cutout of some of the other people.
Some of the other members, my colleagues.
Okay.
I think mixing up the communication helps. I think doing some emails, some phone calls, some one-to-one, some group stuff, and then when you can, arranging for stuff to happen socially. I think you have to live in a reality that not everybody's going to be in the same space as you. But I think having a varied approach to, and then finally, it has to exist outside of work. It is harder if socially you're also trapped in the home, which is what the pandemic for a lot of people. And so having a balance across your communications, it has to be greater than just within your working hours. And then maybe that will alleviate some of that feeling.
Yeah, to be perfectly honest, I mean, that's all that can be said. That's all I was going to say. I mean, there are a range of solutions. You can book some stuff to happen in person, obviously, within the guidelines for the time. You can book some stuff to happen online. But one thing that I think is being overlooked a little bit here is sometimes the stuff that happens in person can be less efficient.
That's true. Yeah.
And if you are scheduling this stuff, you know that, okay, it's scheduled time. This is our downtime. This is not time when I am supposed to be working. Yeah. We're just chatting for hours about random gossip, which can happen. We're all human. In fact, might be a more efficient way to go about it, like scheduling those things in. So yeah, it's kind of a halfway house, but I think it's a viable solution.
Definitely. All right. Thank you.
Awesome.
Till next time.
See you. Bye.